This is Super Bowl weekend. Yeah, that is when millions of people around the globe will tune in to watch Taylor Swift cheer her boyfriend. And some will actually watch a football game surrounded by commercials for beer, cars, and Doritos. I mean, the Super Bowl is filled with traditions, including what is usually a long and often strange halftime show by a trendy young artist whose performance sometimes teeters between over-the-top staging and vulgar gyrations that are most often viewed in seedy, dark dives involving poles and piles of dollar bills. And one of the traditions of the Super Bowl is an interview with the sitting president, which I suppose is a great opportunity for some politician to speak to 200 million people around the world on a day when most all of those folks would rather hear a bluegrass opera than the rattlings of a politician. But this year, the sitting president, or maybe better to say, the shuffling president, Joe Biden, is going to skip the interview. Now, it is understandable since halftime will be several hours past his bedtime. But his staff are probably concerned that he'll forget the name of the country that he leads, or he'll spend all his time sniffing the hair of the female interviewer. Rough room out here. This week alone, he had some moments that caused even CNN and MSNBC commentators to worry out loud about his fitness. I mean, not just to lead the nation, but to complete a sentence.
And I sat down and I said, America's back. And Mitterrand from France looked at me and said, you know, how long are you back for? There is some movement, and I don't want to.
Come on, Joe. Come on.
Let me choose my words.
You can do it.
There's some movement.
Yep.
There's been a response from the.
Come on.
There's been a response.
That's it.
From
who?
The opposition.
Opposition. Who?
But
Hamas.
Yes, I'm sorry. From Hamas.
Hamas. There you go.
But it seems to be a little over the top. We're not sure where it is. There's continuing negotiation right now.
Oh, wow. But the most disturbing moment of this week was Biden's Thursday night press conference of sorts, where he shuffled to the podium to declare that he had been exonerated of holding on to classified documents and keeping them recklessly open in his garage for years. Documents that, as a senator, even a vice president, he was not entitled to have, much less keep. He boasted that he had been cleared after a long investigation, and he pointed fingers at Donald Trump, whose home was raided by FBI agents under the orders of Biden Attorney General Merrick Garland. Trump is being criminally charged for storing documents that, as president, he did have the authority not only to have, but to declassify. In his bizarre statement Thursday night, Joe Biden spoke of the president of Egypt as the president of Mexico. And then after a testy exchange with reporters who he yelled at and argued with, he just abruptly left the room. But the truth is, he wasn't exonerated by the federal prosecutor. The prosecutor actually outlined that Biden had in fact held many documents illegally, and he could be prosecuted. But the prosecutor said that a jury would see him, I'm not making this up, I'm going to quote, as an elderly man whose forgetfulness was so profound that he couldn't remember when he was vice president.
Many American people have been watching, and they have expressed concerns about your age.
That is your judgment. That is your judgment. That is not the judgment of the press.
They express concerns about your mental acuity. They say that you are too old. Mr. President, in December, you told me that you believe there are many other Democrats who could defeat Donald Trump. So why does it have to be you now? What is your answer to that question?
Because I'm the most qualified person in this country to be president of the United States and finish the job I started.
And there you have it, most qualified person in this country to be president. But let me just say, this week has not just been about gaffes in the gridiron. The Senate pretended to put forth what was called a border bill, but it wasn't. It was a $120 billion grab bag, over half of which was funding for the war in Ukraine. The border part was a lesser part of the 370-page bill that would supposedly limit illegal immigration to about 5,000 people a day, down from the sometimes 10 to 12,000 a day that we got now. Former DHS Secretary Jay Johnson, who actually served rather admirably under Barack Obama, has said that more than 1,000 illegal crossings a day constitute a crisis. So it was kind of shocking when Republican Oklahoma Senator James Lankford joined with Chuck Schumer to push a bill that would still allow 1.8 million illegal immigrants a year into the country, and seemed highly offended that the rest of the Senate and the House said no in the biggest, fattest way possible. So how many illegal immigrants should we let in? Well, if we're talking illegal immigrants, shouldn't the answer be 0? Isn't that what it should be? That's what the law says. But since Joe Biden took office, he opened the doors and said, y'all come. He reversed every single policy that was working under Donald Trump. And then this week, he actually said that the reason we have the problem we're having is because of, you guessed it, Donald Trump.
Every day between now and November, the American people are going to know that the only reason the border is not secure is Donald Trump and his MAGA Republican friends.
Okay, so there you have it. The man who hasn't been president in 3 years, he's the one who is at fault for the policies of the man who has been president for the past 3 years. Got that all figured out? Well, I'm glad Joe won't be doing an interview during halftime at the Super Bowl, because we're going to likely see enough fumbles, dropped passes, sacks, and unnecessary roughness in the game without having to endure watching the President of the United States stumble through a similar cringeworthy performance. Many of us would honestly rather see a tawdry halftime show or even cutaways of Taylor Swift than watch Joe Biden blame all his problems on a man that he's trying to prosecute out of being his opponent in this year's election, all the time thinking that he's really being interviewed by the late Walter Cronkite. So I say, blow the whistle, toss the coin, and on to the kickoff. Hey, Mike Huckabee here. Listen, if you love your mom, apple pie, and being conservative, you know you ought to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and click the like button, and show all the leftists out there that conservatives are thriving and patriotism is far from dead. Am I pandering too much? No way. I'm just getting started.